Dad died on a Thursday. Heart attack, sudden, no warning. One moment he was fine, the next, he was gone. The memorial service was the following Saturday at the funeral home. Small, dignified, exactly what Dad would have wanted. About 40 people gathered in the chapel, including family, his business associates, and old friends. I'd spent the week numb, handling arrangements, calling relatives, organizing everything, while my sister Carolyn had been strangely absent. Brief texts, vague promises to help, never showing up. She arrived at the memorial 15 minutes late with her husband, Brian, and their 2 sons, ages 13 and 16. They took seats in the front row like they owned them. I was already sitting there, next to Dad's best friend, Thomas, and his wife. Carolyn squeezed past us without apology, her perfume overwhelming in the quiet space. The service started. The funeral director spoke. Thomas gave a eulogy that made everyone cry. Dad's business partner talked about his integrity. I prepared words but wasn't sure I could say them without breaking down. I was about to stand when Carolyn's older son Derek shot to his feet. "Before we continue," he said, his voice loud in the chapel, "there's something everyone needs to know." The funeral director looked confused. "Young man, this isn't. My mom says Aunt Sarah stole my grandfather's fortune." The chapel went silent. Everyone turned to stare at me. I looked at Derek, then at Carolyn. She was sitting very straight, her face carefully arranged in an expression of pained reluctance, as if this was something she hadn't wanted to say but felt obligated to reveal. "Derek, sit down," I said quietly. "No. Everyone should know what you did. Mom says you had access to Grandpa's vault and you took everything. His money, his documents, everything. You stole it all." People were murmuring now, shocked whispers rippling through the mourners. Thomas half stood. "This is completely inappropriate." The chapel doors opened. 2 police officers walked in. Everyone gasped. The sound was audible in the small space. People shifted in their seats, looking between the police, Derek, and me. Carolyn stood up. "Officers, thank you for coming. I know this is difficult timing, but I felt I had no choice. My father just died, and my sister has stolen his entire estate, everything from the family vault. I filed a report this morning." The older officer, a woman with gray hair pulled back severely, looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, we're here because you called about a theft. But a memorial service isn't really." "I called you to witness this," Carolyn interrupted, "so that everyone here knows what she did. My father trusted her. He gave her access to the vault, and she betrayed that trust." She turned to face the assembled mourners, playing to her audience. 2 weeks ago, my father told me he was updating his will. He said he was concerned about the distribution of his assets. He wanted to make sure everything was fair between Sarah and me. But then he died suddenly, and now the vault is empty, completely empty. And Sarah was the only other person with access. The younger officer was taking notes. "Ma'am, can we discuss this outside?" "No. These people deserve to know. They're here to honor my father, and they should know that his own daughter stole from him before he was even in the ground." Brian was nodding supportively. Derek stood beside his mother like a soldier. The younger son, Marcus, looked uncomfortable. I'd remained seated through all of this, hands folded in my lap, watching Carolyn perform. She was good, rehearsed. The tremor in her voice perfectly calibrated. The pained expression suggesting this was tearing her apart. But she had to do the right thing. I reached down and picked up my laptop bag from under my chair. The movement caught Carolyn's attention. For just a moment, uncertainty flickered across her face. I stood up, opened the laptop, and set it on the table at the front of the chapel where Dad's photo sat. "Officers," I said, "my sister is correct that our father had a vault. It's at our family home, built by our grandfather 60 years ago, a walk-in safe in the basement. Climate-controlled. It contained documents, some jewelry, important papers, and about 200,000 in bearer bonds." 200,000 she stole, Carolyn said. "The vault has security cameras," I continued, "installed 3 years ago when Dad updated the security system. Motion activated. Records to a cloud server." I turned the laptop so everyone could see the screen. "This is footage from last Sunday, 3 in the morning." I pressed play. The video quality was excellent, clear, well lit, time-stamped in the corner. Sunday, 3:17 a.m. The vault door opened. Carolyn walked in. She was wearing jeans and a dark sweatshirt. She looked around, then started pulling items from shelves, document boxes, jewelry cases. She found the bearer bonds in their leather portfolio and tucked them under her arm. She made multiple trips, loading items into boxes, carrying them out, coming back for more. The timestamp advanced 3:31 a.m., 3:45 a.m., 4:02 a.m. At 4:15 a.m., the vault was empty. Carolyn did one final look around, turned off the light, and pulled the door closed. The video ended. The chapel was absolutely silent. I looked at the police officers. This was recorded 6 days ago, 2 days after our father died. While I was at the funeral home making arrangements, my sister entered his house and emptied the vault. The older officer was staring at the laptop screen. That security footage from the vault? Yes. Would you like me to send you the file? It includes metadata showing it hasn't been edited. The cloud service timestamps every upload. Carolyn had gone very pale. That's fake. Sarah doctored it. The security company can verify the footage, I said. It's been on their server since Sunday. I only accessed it yesterday when I went to the house and found the vault empty. Thomas had his phone out. I can confirm the security system. I helped Alan install it 3 years ago. Same company that does my business. They maintain all the footage on secure servers. The older officer turned to Carolyn. Ma'am, is that you in the video? No. It's doctored. She faked it to frame me. We can examine the metadata, I said. The security company has the original files. They can testify to their authenticity. Brian was staring at his wife. Carolyn? It's fake. Her voice was rising. She's manipulating everyone. She stole Dad's fortune, and now she's trying to blame me. The younger officer spoke up. Ma'am, if we contact the security company, what will they tell us? Silence. Carolyn, I said quietly, they have the original footage, the timestamp, the motion sensor logs. They can verify every second of that video. Her face crumpled. You don't understand. Dad was going to change his will. He was going to give you everything. It wasn't fair. I've been taking care of him for years while you lived your life. I deserved that money. So you took it, Thomas said, his voice hard. While your father was barely cold. I earned it. All those visits, all those errands, all those years of being the good daughter while Sarah was off doing whatever she wanted. I earned that money. By stealing it at 3 in the morning while I was planning his funeral, I said. The older officer stepped forward. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with us. We need to ask you some questions about this theft. I'm not going anywhere. This is my father's memorial service. Which you just disrupted by making false accusations, the officer said. You called us here. You made this a legal matter. Now we need to address it. Carolyn looked around the chapel desperately at Brian, who was shaking his head. At Derek, who looked confused and scared. At the assembled mourners, all of whom had watched the video. At me, standing calmly next to my laptop. This is your fault, she said to me. You've always been his favorite. You've always gotten everything. I just wondered what was fair. By stealing it and then calling the police to my father's memorial to accuse me of your crime. I had to. You would have noticed the vault was empty eventually. I had to get ahead of it, to make everyone believe you did it first. So you used your son, at Dad's memorial service. You had Derek stand up and announce I was a thief, in front of everyone here to mourn our father. The funeral director had tears on his face, not from grief now, but from anger. You need to leave, all of you. This service is over. No, Thomas said, standing. Carolyn needs to leave, with the officers. The rest of us are here to honor Alan. That continues. The younger officer took Carolyn's arm. Ma'am, let's go outside. I'm not leaving my father's memorial. You destroyed your father's memorial, I said. The moment you decided to use it as a stage for your performance. Brian gathered the boys and followed the officers and Carolyn out. Derek looked back at me once, his face stricken. He'd been used, just like everyone else in that chapel. After they left, the funeral director looked at me. Would you like to postpone? Continue another day? No. I looked at Dad's photo. He deserves to be remembered properly. Not for this. Thomas nodded. Then let's continue. The service resumed. I gave my eulogy. Others shared memories. We tried to reclaim the space Carolyn had violated with her accusation and performance. But the damage was done. Instead of focusing solely on Dad, everyone was thinking about what they'd witnessed. The accusation, the police, the video. Carolyn had gotten what she wanted in one sense. She'd made herself the center of attention, just not the way she planned. After the service, people approached me quietly, apologizing, expressing shock, asking if I was okay. Thomas stayed until everyone else had left. Alan told me he was worried about Carolyn, as she'd been asking about money, pushing him to update his will with her as the primary beneficiary. He never mentioned it to me. He didn't want to put you in the middle, but he was changing things, making sure everything was split fairly, with protections in place. I think Carolyn found out. When he died suddenly, she saw an opportunity. So she emptied the vault before the will could be read, and then orchestrated this whole scene to preemptively accuse you. If everyone believed you were the thief, no one would suspect her. She called the police to her own father's memorial service. She's desperate, entitled. She convinced herself she deserved that money and nothing else mattered. Not her father's memory, not the sanctity of his memorial, not the truth. I looked at Dad's photo, still sitting on the table next to my laptop. He would have been devastated. He loved both his daughters, but he knew Carolyn had problems. That's why he installed those cameras, why he updated his security. He was protecting himself and his estate from her. We stood in silence for a moment. "What happens now?" Thomas asked. "The police will investigate. The security company will provide the original footage. Carolyn will probably be charged with theft, maybe fraud for making false accusations. The bearer bonds alone are $200,000. That's felony territory." "I know. And the rest? The documents? The jewelry?" "At her house, probably. The police will search once they have a warrant." Thomas put his hand on my shoulder. "I'm sorry, Sarah. Sorry you had to deal with this today of all days. Sorry your sister is who she is." "Me too." I closed my laptop and packed it away. The video that had exposed Carolyn's theft and lies, saved to the cloud by the security cameras Dad had installed because he knew this might happen. He'd known, maybe not the specifics, but the possibility. He prepared, protected his assets, made sure there would be evidence if Carolyn tried anything. And she had. At his memorial service, using her son as a weapon, calling the police to witness her false accusation, performing her carefully rehearsed outrage. All of it captured on video from 6 days earlier. Time-stamped, authenticated, irrefutable. I walked out of the funeral home into the gray afternoon. 2 police cars were still in the parking lot. Through the window of one, I could see Carolyn talking rapidly, gesturing, still trying to control the narrative. But the narrative was settled. The vault footage told the truth. She'd stolen Dad's fortune at 3 in the morning while I planned his funeral. She'd orchestrated a scene at his memorial to accuse me of her crime. And she'd failed. I drove to Dad's house, the one Carolyn had broken into last Sunday, let myself in with my key, walked down to the basement and stood in front of the vault. The empty shelves stared back at me, everything gone. 60 years of family history, documents, treasures, taken by my sister, who felt entitled to it all. I looked up at the security camera in the corner. The little red light blinked steadily, recording. "Thank you, Dad," I said to the empty room. "For knowing this might happen, for being prepared." The camera kept recording, just like it had on Sunday at 3 in the morning. Just like it would keep recording until everything was returned. Justice moved slowly, but it moved. And Carolyn had made sure everyone witnessed her crime. She just didn't realize the evidence would be on my side instead of hers. The vault would be full again eventually, after the police recovered everything, after the investigation concluded. But the memorial service, Dad's final ceremony, that moment of collective grief and remembrance, could never be reclaimed. Carolyn had stolen that too. And unlike the bearer bonds, the theft could never be returned.